Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Stacey Sullivan from the ACLU. Omar Jadwat, who's just for the arguments, is here to speak to you, as well as Marielena Hincapie, who's the Executive Director of the National Immigration Law Center, who's co-counsel on this case. Becca Heller, the Director of the International Refugee Assistance Project. Melanie Nazir, President of the President for Policy and Advocacy for HIAS, who's one of the plaintiffs in the case. Judith Tucker, who is from the Middle East Studies Association, and Abed Ayub, who is from the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. So first, Omar.
Hi, so we just had oral argument in our case against the second version of the Muslim ban. In a long argument, the judges were very interested in all the legal issues in the case, which I think came out pretty well over the course of the argument. The striking thing from my perspective is that the government didn't have any limiting principle on how far it could take religious discrimination, as long as it gave it the slightest little kind of gloss, the slightest justification of some non-religious purpose. And I think that really would be what the court would have to find in order to let the ban go forward. It would have to turn away from all of the facts about what President Trump said, about how he wanted to ban Muslims, how he was going to do it by acting on territories, and how he would enact this ban. And the fact that he, after saying those comments, went ahead and did exactly what he planned. There's never been a case like this, never in our history, with the President of the United States so nakedly trying to go after, trying to single out a single religion for condemnation, to say to so many people, you are not welcome. And our hope is that the courts will continue to stand up to that unconstitutional attempt by the President to exclude people on the basis of their religion from our country, and instead stand up for our Constitution and say that the ban cannot go forward. Thank you.
One question.
Yes.
The judges seem to.
Said yes, Your Honor.
I'm flattered. The judges seem to really stick on the point that the president does have the constitutional authority to enact national security measures. Do you respond to that?
Right, and there's no question that the president has authority. He has vast authority, but the president also doesn't get a blank check to violate the Constitution. That's what the Supreme Court has said in so many words in other cases. And so the question here is whether just because he mentions national security, he's going to be allowed to basically rip up the religious freedom portions of our Constitution and throw them in the garbage. And the answer to that question has to be no. Thank you.
Can I just ask if you can hold the questions until the end so that everybody gets a chance to speak? I know, but we also have plaintiffs who are here, and I just like everyone to be able to speak, and you'll get to ask all the questions before we're done.
And we'll be brief so that you can ask your questions. Good afternoon, everybody. Marielena Hincapie. I'm the Executive Director of the National Immigration Law Center. We at the National Immigration Law Center are proud to stand behind our courageous individual plaintiffs, including our organizational plaintiffs, IRAP, HIAS, and MESA, who are here with us today, who have brought Donald Trump to court over his discriminatory ban. The Muslim and refugee ban is a clear example of the politics of hate and xenophobia that this administration is intent on bringing this country on. This is not just, remember, this is part of a larger agenda that this administration has against people of color, against Muslims, against immigrants, against trans communities, and many others. This is part of that hateful and xenophobic agenda. Today, the Fourth Circuit is the first appellate court to hear our arguments. We clearly, through Omar's arguments, clearly made the case that this ban is discriminatory, it is xenophobic, but it is unconstitutional, and it is un-American. We know that aside from the legal arguments that were made today, aside from the legalese, aside from the hypotheticals that the judges asked, we know that the world is watching the United States. The world is watching us because just a few days ago, we commemorated the 135th anniversary of the Chinese Exclusion Act. We know that this country has a shameful history of interning Japanese, of closing the door, shutting the door on Jewish refugees seeking safety in our country from Nazis. This ban, this Muslim ban, is absolutely no different. And that is why we know that the world and Americans, including many of you who came out today, and we heard you chanting during the hearing, we know the judges heard Americans in opposition of this ban. We know that that means that we are hoping and trusting that the court will serve, as many other courts have done so far, as an important check and balance against the overreach and unconstitutionality of this president. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Becca Heller. I'm the director of the International Refugee Assistance Project. I want to thank our amazing council, the National Immigration Law Center, and the American Civil Liberties Union for doing such a wonderful job representing our interests and the interests of our co-plaintiffs and of our thousands of clients in this case. I think that a lot of the legal analysis has been done. I will simply say that we currently are working with hundreds and hundreds of individuals who are on U.S. soil trying to get their family members in for emergency medical procedures, for weddings, who are being told that because of their religion or their country of origin, they're not able to do that. We have people whose lives are on the line. There's a plaintiff in this case, Jane Doe number 2, trying to bring in her sister, who is literally every day in a life or death situation. The president cannot use religion as a proxy for discriminatory policies against immigrants. He cannot enact xenophobic and anti-immigrant actions every time he can't get the health care bill he wants through the legislature, and he cannot cite national security as a justification for something that is basically just the embodiment of a promise he made throughout his campaign and into his presidency to ban an entire religion from coming to the United States. I think that while the president obviously in many circumstances would have national security powers, it cannot be the case that he can just shout national security and use that as carte blanche to discriminate and risk the lives of thousands of people on the basis of their religion. Thank you.
Hi everyone, Melanie Nezer with HIAS. So we are the Global Jewish Organization for Refugees. We are a plaintiff in this case. Thank you to our lawyers who argued so forcefully today in court. This order, the first executive order, was signed on International Holocaust Remembrance Day. We take that personally. We are an organization that for 135 years has been resettling refugees, reuniting people with loved ones, reuniting families, bringing people to safety in this country. And we see no reason why that should stop today. There's no place in this country for discrimination based on religion. There's no place in this country for separating families for no reason. People who have been struggling to find safety, who finally find it, who want to bring their wives, their husbands, their moms, their dads here, just to be told no based on no rational reason other than their faith. So that is not something that we want to see happen in this country. That is not our values. Our country is strongest when we make decisions based on our values, not on fear. We look back on the times in history where we've made decisions based on fear and we regret them. We do not want that to happen today. So that is why HIAS has joined this lawsuit, and we expect that the ruling will find this executive order to be unconstitutional. Thank you so much.
My name is Abid Ayub. I'm the legal director of AIDA, the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. I want to first thank all the attorneys and plaintiffs that put a ton of effort into this case. And as the nation's largest American civil rights organization, we will not stand by idly as this president implements bans targeting individuals of Arab descent and individuals that follow the religion of Islam. This is a Muslim ban, regardless of how the government wants to spin this in the courtroom. It's something that's alarming. It's something that's had its impact on the community already. As my colleagues have mentioned, hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals have been impacted. Many students are unable to come here to continue their studies, continue with their medical treatment, bring their spouses here. These are the real life stories that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And it's our hope that the court upholds these decisions and strikes down this ban. It is also our hope that those that are in the streets, those that are marching, those that are protesting and coming out in support of the community continue to do so. Because the one thing this has shown over the past few months is America, and many Americans have resoundingly said no to the ban and no to the politics of fear and xenophobia, and we'll continue this momentum. We'll continue carrying this through. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Judith Tucker. I'm the president-elect of the Middle East Studies Association. And we're here today because we are are really very, very concerned about the impact that President Trump's Muslim ban will have on our membership and on the free exchange of ideas. We're a membership organization of Middle East experts, people who are in the field of Middle East studies, both nationally and internationally. And we feel that this ban affects our members in particular ways. The first of these is we do have members who, from the 6 countries listed in the ban, who are living and working in the United States. They are students, they are faculty, and they are currently very concerned and afraid to go home to visit for the holidays, to see their families, because they just don't know if they will be able to return and to resume their studies and their teaching here. So that's a major concern for us. Another concern, quite frankly, is our ability to continue to recruit from these 6 countries and from the Middle East in general, to recruit promising students, to recruit stellar faculty to join us in making Middle East studies and actually higher education in this country just the best that it can be. And even if we can get waivers to bring students or faculty here, we really don't know how people will feel about coming to a country whose president has basically told them they are not welcome. And thirdly, I would say it's really quite likely that there will be some reciprocity, that countries whose citizens have been banned from entering America will act to make it very difficult for American scholars to do their research in the Middle East and also to interact with their counterparts, their colleagues in the region. And this is a great impoverishment of what we know and what we do, and we will know less and less about each other as time goes on. And let me just end by saying it's very close to home for me. I have one of our most promising, brilliant young students in graduate school at Georgetown, where I teach, is a young Muslim man from the region, and he is about to transfer out of Georgetown and go to a Canadian university. There is an atmosphere of uncertainty and unwelcomeness that is really going to hurt us. So we have been leaders in this country in the field of Middle East studies, leaders in higher education internationally in general, and I think that kind of leadership is put in jeopardy by this ban. Thank you.
If you have questions, could you just identify yourself and say your question too?
Any questions?
Yeah. When do you expect a decision?
I don't know. It's up to the court now. It's in their hands, and we'll just have to wait and see.
What's your assessment on how things
Make
went?
the best argument with all of the questions from
I think over the course of the time, the extended period that the argument went on, most of the points got out. Yes, you're right. I did it again. I'm still in that mode. No, but I do think that the court understands and will understand the real high stakes here of what the questions are in this case. Really, I mean, again, there's no other example that we've been able to find of a president going after a religion so straightforwardly and nakedly saying to an entire group of people in the United States that you are not welcome here, and that we condemn you, and that we're going to keep your family from joining you, even though you have that right under the law. It's an extraordinary moment. It's an extraordinary problem if something like this is allowed to continue, and I think that the court understands.
And are you confident after that? You can look at the cameras while you answer, but are you confident that after that argument that you'll win?
I think the law and the facts are on our side. I'm never going to predict what a court is going to do, but I think eventually we have prevailed thus far, and I think that at the end of the day, the ban will be struck down.
You flip to the cameras again, but are you prepared for this to go to the Supreme Court?
We'll see what happens. We'll see where we are when this court rules, when the Ninth Circuit rules. They're obviously having an oral argument next week in that case, and how the case is going to shape up procedurally is going to depend on a lot of things. but certainly we're prepared that if that's where the case needs to go, that's where we'll be with it.
If this same order had come from, if someone else had been, if this had come from someone else, or even if President Trump had apologized or took back some of the statements he made during the hearing,
I mean, I think the important thing on the ground is that none of those facts are the facts here, right? That you can't erase what the president said, that he's made no effort to step back from his statements, that he's continuing to communicate through what his administration is doing, that he has every intention of banning people from this country based on their religion, and that can't be lawful, no matter what the hypotheticals or, the edge cases may involve. What's happening here is not right. And if there's nothing else, thank you all for coming.